Containers, a steel box that you might always see in ports, industrial areas, and hipster coffee shop. Did you know that this steel box has revolutionized the transport industry, making the items in shops cheaper and global economy better integrated? Let me bring you to the journey of containers that changed the world and shaped the globalized world as we see today. Before the invention of containers, goods need to be carried manually by break-bulk method in the form of sacks, wooden crates, and barrels. Goods were passed through the series of loading and unloading either in ports or in warehouse, which took a lot of manpower, space, and of course time. It was a back-breaking job with a high chance of accident. Port workers need to stack the goods fit into the ship's belly like a real-world Tetris puzzle. It was expensive, slow, and prone to accident, theft, loss, and spoilage, which added to the cost of shipping. Before the standard containerization, shipping costs could end up to 20% of the item's price. In fact, this was the only way to load and unload goods in the ports from ancient times until the mid-20th century. Industrial revolution in the late 18th century saw the introduction of steamships and trains, which drastically reduced the time taken to transport the goods from one place to another, but loading and unloading between sea and land was still relatively unchanged. Cargo transfer inefficiencies between ships, rail, and road has created a bottleneck where a ship could moor longer than it is actually sailing on the sea. Benjamin Outram has introduced the first practical container in 1795, which is a standardized wooden boxes fitted into trains, barges, and horse cart. Soon, trains were fitted with open wagons which could transport coal, iron, grains, and sand. Since there are more than one train companies in the world, lack of standardization on train wagons, ship space, and lorry size caused the crowding and delay in ports and stations. Since all modes of transport use a different size and measurements, all cargo need to be unloaded, put into a warehouse, and loaded again. Standardization is not easy to do. Many transport modes, many actors in the transport business, and simply the competition between the transport companies. Container boxes was long been used in transport, but the differences in size, material, and maximum weight rendered the standardization process difficult. Malcolm McLean, an owner of a trucking company, is the pioneer of the modern standardized container which used globally since 1956. In year 1937, he witnessed that the process of unloading cotton from his truck took several hours, which took a lot of time and money. All the boxes, crates, and sacks were oddly different from each other, which took a long time to load and unload manually. When his trucking business grew by 1950, McLean owned 1,750 trucks, which has some issues regarding on transporting goods. There were weight limitations on the road and delays on good delivery, which resulted to fines, which are unfortunately not uncommon. McLean envisioned a standardized container that can move easily between trucks, ships, and rails to achieve faster delivery while obeying weight limit, thus fewer fines for his company. He remembered that what he saw in 1937 and got an idea to load and unload the cargoes from trucks to ship with more quantity in lesser time. McLean bought Pan-Atlantic Tanker Company and all its ships and converted one oil tanker into an early container ship called Ideal X. With standardized 35-feet steel containers, he experimented the loading process from trucks to ships. The Ideal X ship sailed from Newark on the 25th of April 1956 to the port of Houston. At first, the skeptics were skeptical, of course, but the company started to receive the first orders even before the voyage was complete. After the success of Ideal X, the first purposely built container ship, called Gateway City, departed from New Jersey to Miami on October 1957. The productivity of container ship started from the gateway city. It was so incredible. How many persons needed to load and unload gateway city full of containers? Is it 220 or 2? The answer? This one. Malcolm McLean knew that a ship earns money only when she's at the sea. With containers, cargo could reach its destination safe and sound, reducing the damage and spoilage in all stages of transportation. Containers have reduced the need of manual labor to load and unload the goods. Cranes and gantries has replaced human, which makes the loading time faster and cheaper, plus reduce the accidents at work, making the ports relatively safer to work. By the way, McLean's company Sealand has been part of the Danish conglomerate Maersk, which is still the largest shipping company in the world. A standard design of a metal box has revolutionized global trade, hastening the globalization. In fact, according to The Economist magazine, the container has been more of a driver of globalization than all trade agreements in the past 50 years taken together. Just to give you an idea, the cost of shipping from Shenzhen, China to Rotterdam, the Netherlands is around $2,300 or up to $3,200 in current year 2021. To transport 10,000 bottles of soft drinks in a single container only costs about 30 cents per bottle. How much in your local currency? Here you go. Find your own. Before containers, the most that the manual dry bulk method could transfer in the ports is about 1.3 metric tons per hour. After the introduction of containers, up to 30 metric tons of goods could be transferred at the port 1 hour. Containerization makes the goods move faster and cheaper across the globe, making international trade much more convenient. Thus, it's also possible to have a global supply chain across the globe. Since late 1970s, there was a trend to move labor-intensive manufacturing industries from Europe and North America to Asia, which only made possible by super low transportation costs and fasting loader time at the ports. That is one of the main reasons why East Asia developed so fast. Approximately 90% of the current global cargo was moved by containers. Containers has changed the world by making the goods transport cheaper, safer, and faster. The ingenuity of standard container has opened a possibility of global scale businesses with lower costs, faster loading time, and bigger market. It made companies in Europe could open the clothing factory in India, household packaging in China, electronics in South Korea, and food processing in Thailand. The container makes the globalization possible and of course cheaper goods. Perhaps, maybe your phone that you are watching right now and the clothes you're wearing were transported in the containers before reaching the shops. Maybe.